on the men's Final Four, Raider Jim, obviously I kind of worked backwards. If you want to go, your thoughts on the national championships and the semifinals, or however you want to go about it, but your thoughts really on a wild Final Four.
I think somewhere along the way, and if you look at the back transcripts, somewhere along the way, I'm pretty sure I said, I won't be surprised if Florida takes out Duke. That's
Yeah.
for sure. And it ended up that Florida played a heck of a game against in this Final Four. It was Houston's to lose.
Mm.
It was Houston's to lose once they got that double figure. And I'm always screaming when I'm watching a Gonzaga game and they're up by 12 or 14, but they're not. They never get up to 20. They never get up to 22. And I'm always screaming, you gotta, be sportsmanlike, but don't let
No.
the lead dwindle down. And hats off to Florida. They did what they had to do. They didn't lose their composure. I will say I thought the young man on Houston, the hot shot shooter, the CJ uh,
Mm.
Pryor, correct?
Yes.
I think he
LJ.
tried a little too hard. I think he was I don't think he was believing the press. I just think he felt the pressure of the expectation. They expect me to go out there now and keep this alive or increase the lead because he was putting up some shots that were not they were ill-advised, I felt. And some of their shots were just falling short. The young man at the end who played smart because he knew they're gonna nail me and they're gonna call it dead if I touch it. But there's the mental part of that. I mean, that young man is gonna live with that for the rest of his life, unless he can come back and get involved in a championship scenario somewhere along the way and at least push it to the back stage of his mind. Wow, that I don't care who you're rooting for. You don't want to see that kind of mental pressure put on any athlete, men's, women's, kids, high school, doesn't matter. What a terrible, terrible thing. And I thought they showed good sportsmanship on the
Mhm.
Florida side to come up to him. Of course, then then I went back in time and thought about Adam Morrison laying face down on the floor after Gonzaga blew a big lead and ended up losing to UCLA, and he could not contain himself after that. So, all in all, I thought the championship game it lived up to the hype. That's for sure, and so did the Final Four. I thought it was very, very good. Uh, Too bad to see the whole season end. When it got into that second half, I just kinda looked around, it's like, "Wow, really? Are we down to the last 20 minutes?"
Yep.
After it seems like it was just Halloween in November and those tournaments getting started, but, no, it was good, and I hope I'm absolutely 100% wrong that this, all the number 1 seeds playing just happened this year. And it wasn't, it was just coincidental. It had nothing to do with transfer portals and building the rosters and things, but we'll see.
Yeah, again, because they're more than likely, or at least, like, I'm not going to sit here and say, "No, like, that's not why." But, again, like, it's 1 year, like, I don't wanna overreact. Let's get 5 years of data point and see where we are. Not saying that we'll be in a different spot, but, the one thing I don't think I mentioned when I talked about the championship game, of course, that fateful last play, and it's really hard in that moment, but, again, I think you have to touch the ball. You have to take the travel. I think there would have been about 4.5 seconds left. Now, that doesn't, it's still very, very difficult. But put a press on. Florida's going to have to take the ball in an awkward spot. Who knows? You get a deflection, ball falls crazy. I don't know. But at the same time, in that moment, it's really easy for me to sit here, 3 days after, and after looking at it multiple times, for me to be like, this is what you should have done. When in
Oh,
reality, if I was on that court, I would have been folded and crying before the game even started with all those lights on me. So I agree with you. It's very, very unfortunate to see that happen on a national stage. And I do hope that he will, be able to brush this off. And even if he isn't able to, redeem himself or whatever, I just hope that he doesn't carry that with him for the rest of his life. And I hope
right.
that Houston fans don't carry that with him. I don't want to see a Bill Buckner, a Steve Bartman type thing. And nobody feels worse about that situation than him. That's what I always say.
And what was the resolution to them not allowing, after the Final Four victory, not allowing Olajuwon to go join the team?
Yeah,
What was that nonsense?
so I did see that video. That was, of course, when they beat Duke. Now, I do just want to say, I don't think, because I know there are a lot of people that are clowning on that security guard. I I don't want to sit here and be that guy like, oh, he's just doing his job. But I mean, there is a very real chance he doesn't know who that guy is. And he's been told, don't let anybody on the court. I think there needed to be somebody on the Houston side of things that went, hey, someone needs to go tell that young man or that guy that, hey, he needs to come up here. And then I did see in the championship game, he was closer than he was. So I'm wondering if Houston gave him like, hey, we're gonna put you so close that you're essentially on the court. But yeah, that was unfortunate. But again, I don't think that was because again in this day and age, there are a lot of times where people see a video and they immediately say, oh, this is what's happening. And in this day and age, it's unfortunate when you see an African American or a black man talking with any authority. We just meet, and I just think it was an honest mistake. I think Homeboy's just trying to do his job. Can't let anybody on the court. I apologize. Although when Hakeem Olajuwon is like 7'2", I think it's a pretty good assumption that this guy is probably associated with the team. But yeah, just unfortunate, but I do think there were some people who blew it a little bit out of the water.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was probably not great for Hakeem to be like, wow, really? Okay, I'll just go back to my hotel now. Very unfortunate, but
Yeah. And kudos to the young man, going back to that last 6 seconds of the game. Kudos to the young man on Florida who had the wherewithal to throw himself at that ball.
Yep.
And smartly guard it so that nobody else was gonna grab it. And it was funny because I'm watching it, and when it happened, I said, they're frozen. Houston's frozen. And there were 2 guys that were close enough. They might have been able to dive at it and call a timeout, or they didn't have any timeouts left.
well, that's the
But
thing.
they could have dove at the ball at least. And it was like they couldn't fathom what was going
Yeah.
on.
It's a very unbasketball. Like you're not used to needing to go outside the 3-point line, gather, and yeah, I think it was foreign for everyone, including the defenders too, because you're right. Like even the on-ball defender at first kind of was like, wait, oh, I can touch this. Like everybody was just so, wait, what's going on?
And the look on Coach Sampson's
Oh,
face, that frozen stare,
yeah.
because it's like, as a coach in the
Oh,
moment, how he probably wanted to scream at that young man,
but
but he knows the time for screaming is
yeah,
done. It's
there's
over.
yeah.
But I mean, the look on his face is like, I can't imagine what it took for him to suppress his emotion at that point, and then have to go into the locker room and rally the troops and say, "Oh, you guys did good, and for those of you who'll be back, we'll be back."
We'll see. Yeah. A lot of people putting Houston as their number one team next year, so I do believe we will see. I haven't seen the last of Houston, but